So today we're off to one of the most beautiful parts of the world, the Isle of Skye.
Working in cafes, bars, restaurants, nightclubs, wineries. I opened a bar in 2007 in Queenstown, and in 2013 I won the Diageo World Class for New Zealand. You ever thought about working in Dubai? We're looking for a world class ambassador. And I actually didn't even know where Dubai was at the time. Talisker's been produced in the Isle of Skye since 1830. Talisker was originally triple distilled, which is quite strange. It was in 1989 that they released the classic Talisker 10-year-old. In 2007, this was voted best single malt whiskey in the world. This is our Bodega 41, which came out last year. So this is the book here. It's over 75 recipes.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Discover series with the Whisky Advisor. I'm Uday Balaji. So today we're off to one of the most beautiful parts of the world, the Isle of Skye. And we're going to be talking all things Talisker with brand ambassador Jason Clark. Hey Jason, how are you? Welcome to the show.
Hi Uday, I'm really good, thank you. Thank you so much for having me along.
Absolutely delighted to have you here with us. And just before we jump into the conversation, I'm going to have to ask you all to please like, subscribe, and hit the little bell so you know every time we have a new video in the series. So Jason, first things first, what do you have in your glass today?
Right, well I've poured myself a little Talisker 18.
Oh, lovely.
Special occasion to be on the show with you today, and this is one of my all-time favourite whiskies, so I thought the perfect one to enjoy with you today.
Wonderful. Slanger.
Slanger. And yourself, what are you drinking?
Oh, I've got the 10.
Lovely. The classic.
It's a staple in my bar. Lovely. So Jason, you're the first Kiwi that's been on our show. So I believe you've been in the industry for over 20 years now, and you've done many hats, from competitive bartender to bar owner to brand ambassador. And now you're the brand ambassador for both Talisker as well as World Class. So could you just tell us about this journey around the world and also what you do in your roles now?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, that's a bit of a long story. I'll try and keep it nice and short. I finished school when I was 17. My first job was in a crazy party bar. I really quite enjoyed it, but I thought it was part-time. Then when I was 20, I moved to the UK, from New Zealand, just to explore, find out what I wanted to do. And I got a job at a famous chain called TGI Fridays. And there I got incredible training. They've changed a lot over the years, but particularly back then, some of the training was amazing. And I learned, hundreds of cocktails, but I learned the art of hosting, of hospitality, of being creative, fell in love with the industry from there. And so that was back in 2000, I was there. And I've been, sort of hooked into the industry ever since, working in cafes, bars, restaurants, nightclubs, wineries, sort of testing my foot into all kinds of things. I opened a bar in 2007 in Queenstown in New Zealand. It was an incredible part of my life I'll never forget. Sold that in 2011, and just to sort of get more focus back on the drink side and bartending. Started competing in competitions and having great success. I started winning lots of competitions and traveling around the world, which is really nice to do, all the way from New Zealand. Going out to Jamaica, out to Holland. And in 2013, I won the Diageo World Class for New Zealand, which was amazing. I went to the global final, which was on a cruise ship in the Mediterranean with the 50 of the world's top bartenders. And I sort of surprised everyone, including myself, and I placed 4th in the world. And it was that moment that was a real sort of change for me, I guess. I got some notoriety. I started getting noticed. I actually went back to New Zealand, opened another bar, and then competed in 2014. I won World Class again for New Zealand, went to compete in the Globals. I got knocked out, but I got a tap on the shoulder from a gentleman who basically from Dubai, and he said, "I love your style. I love your work. Have you ever thought about working in Dubai? We're looking for a world-class ambassador." And I actually didn't even know where Dubai was at the time. We had a few drinks, forgot about it, went home to New Zealand, got a call a few weeks later, and before I knew it, a few months later, I was moving out to Dubai as the world-class ambassador out there. So that was how it sort of developed from bartender into brand ambassador. I was covering the Diageo Reserve portfolio, but also working with William Grant's, Glenfiddich, Monkey Shoulder, Hendrix, Remy Cointreau, Beam Suntory. I was there for 3.5 years, and then it was time to move on. My wife and I decided we were looking at the UK, started looking at opportunities, and I loved working with Diageo, wanted to continue with that. I was looking at 2 roles with them. It was Tanqueray or Talisker. They selected me for Talisker, thankfully. And yeah, it's been an incredible run since. I've been with the company just over 2 years now. I absolutely love the brand, so it was a really easy decision for me. So while I focus on Talisker, I also actually work with all Diageo malts, and I've also been, working on the world-class program out here as well.
Well, it really is quite a journey, literally hopping all over the world. Fabulous. So, like I said before, Jason, we do a rapid fire every episode. So, you ready for yours?
Yeah.
All right. What is your first whiskey?
Ardbeg 10, and it blew my head off. I didn't know what I was trying, but it certainly got me intrigued about the levels of flavour that could come from a bottle, that's for sure.
That really is a potent start to whiskey, isn't it? What is your favorite bar in the whole world?
Probably at the moment, to have cocktails and whiskey, it would be Scarf's Bar in London. It's a hotel bar, incredible cocktails, amazing atmosphere, and great whiskey selection.
That's one added to my list now. What is your favorite food?
Well, I'm a very proud vegan, so anything veggie based at the moment. I've been exploring the world of plant-based, but at the moment, been in lockdown and things, a vegan burger cooked in the garden.
Lovely. What is your favorite sport?
Favorite sport is, I've sort of got 2. Football, I love football, but competing, I'm a dirt jumper. So mountain bikes on dirt jumps.
Lovely. I thought it would probably have been rugby or cricket,
Love rugby and cricket, but yeah, I'm a bit of a rebel in New Zealand, I guess.
Cats or dogs?
Definitely dogs. Got my little lad here, Pacino. He's a Jack Russell.
Lovely. Love the name. Books or music?
I'd have to say music at this point. Although I love books and I've learned so much from them, I'm just addicted to music, and I've been collecting a little bit of vinyl recently. So big music fan.
Mm-hmm. Beaches or mountains?
Oh, grew up by the beach. Grew into manhood in the mountains. So if you asked me today, I would probably choose mountains.
All right. Coffee or tea?
100% coffee. Although I do like the world of tea. As you know, I'm a big coffee fan.
Batman or Superman?
Ooh, I'd have to go Batman. Dark and mysterious.
What is your absolutely favorite whiskey memory?
Favorite whiskey memory is, I think it is literally, this is in recent years, it was going to Talisker for the very first time, arriving on Skye and drinking a dram outside the distillery. It was just such a pilgrimage for me. I mean, I could probably doing the same thing in Islay at Lagavulin. Drinking Lagavulin in the warehouse from the cask. It's pretty amazing as well.
Oh, okay. It's hard to beat, isn't it? But talking about the Talisker distillery, it's an absolutely storied distillery and is well loved across the world. And the history dates back to the early 1800s almost. So could you just tell us a little bit about Talisker history?
Yeah, sure. So Talisker's been produced in the Isle of Skye since 1830. And I guess for those that don't know, the Isle of Skye is an absolutely beautiful, remote, rugged, wild island off the west coast of Scotland and the northwestern Hebrides. And when you're like, just driving through from, say, Edinburgh to Skye, you're going through beautiful Scottish highlands. But when you get onto Skye, it turns up another level, the beauty, the mountains, the rivers, the glens, the rugged coastline. And you come over the bridge, you drive for about another 40 minutes just to get to the distillery, tucked away right on the edge of Loch Harcourt. On a windy day, you've got the waves crashing up and blowing salt spray up onto the distillery itself, which is probably most days really on Skye. But then you know that you'll get the beautiful sunshine coming through the clouds, and it is a really special location. So it was founded by two brothers, two Scots. The story is they rowed a boat from a small island nearby to the Isle of Skye. They purchased the Talisker farmstead. So it's about a 25-minute drive away from where the distillery is now. I think it's 6 miles. And beautiful farmland, beautiful beach, but it's not the right place for whiskey. They started farming. This was in 1825. And within a few years, I guess they decided farming's not quite for us. What else can we do? Let's open a distillery. So they found this piece of land that was perfect. As I say, 6 miles away. I don't know how long that took on horseback back then, but and it had everything they needed. It had an amazing water source. There's a convergence of springs there, which gives a really great, reliable source of clean, fresh water flowing from the mountains. They had a harbour or a bay where boats could come in a little bit safer than in the other location. They had there was roads, so access for accessing grain and peat and whatnot. Started producing in 1830. It went through many highs and lows. That they had difficult times through the years, but eventually they produced a very distinct whiskey. A flavour that sort of stood out different to any other. And I think that while they had hard times, it sort of caught on and is what's got them through difficult times through to now, because it is quite distinctly different to anything else. The Talisker is a medium peated Scotch. That means it's not that big, explosive, full level of smoke that you get with the likes of the big boys from Islay. It's a balance of flavour. It's in there amongst many other flavours. It can be scary for some people trying it for the first time, that getting that wave of smoke. But then you start to realise actually there's more going on here than just spice and smoke. And of course, many people with Talisker will talk about it. It's made by the sea character, these maritime flavours. That's what's really made it distinct. 1925, the distillery was purchased by a consortium, two companies called John Dewar and Sons and John Walker and Sons. So the two of the biggest blending houses in the world purchased the distillery to ensure that they had access to this incredible liquid that they used in their blends. And of course, later on, that was brought out by John Walker and Sons and gone on to become part of Diageo. Talisker was originally triple distilled, which is quite strange. Normally we think of Irish whiskey or lowland whiskey, but it was 1972 they changed from triple distillation to double distillation. The distillery was coal-fired until 72 as well. And there was actually a huge fire in 1960 which burnt down the whole distillery, and they had to rebuild it from scratch. So it was closed for 2 years as they rebuilt it, but they built it with the same stills and the same shape, and to try and produce exactly the same liquid. For many years, Talisker was famous for being an 8-year-old. They also did a 12-year-old, but it was in 1989 that they released the classic Talisker 10-year-old. I've got a bunch of Taliskers here, and I didn't bring the 10. But the classic 10-year-old, that's the one. Came out as part of a series called the Diageo Classic Malts. So with the likes of Lagavulin, Oban, Craigenmore, Glenkinchie, Dalwhinnie. These are whiskies that really represented their regions and their flavour profiles from those regions. It gave people a lot of education around Scotch and a lot of excitement around the versatility and the flavours. And, I think that 10-year-old now is still many Talisker fans' favourites. We do many different releases now. That 10 is really, for me, it just ticks all the boxes in terms of Talisker and gives you all of the different flavour nuances you would come to expect with it. So that was 1989. Since then, there have been many other releases, and we have now a big family, maybe even a clan of different releases within the Talisker portfolio.
Wonderful. But when you talked about traveling on to the Isle of Skye, so I went there a few years back, and I know exactly what you mean, right? So the rugged beauty of the place. And I was there on one of those extremely rainy days. I'll put up a few photos on social media. But it literally is at the end of the road down in Carbost in a remote place. But what a fabulous whiskey has come out of it. But I believe that you worked at the distillery for a short while as well. So what did you do there, and what should people absolutely do when they visit the distillery?
Well, yeah, I have worked there. And when you say short, it was very, very short. I just got to work one day in the distillery, which was, I think for me was still incredibly special. They work 7 days a week. They work 24 hours around the clock, producing the whiskey to keep up with, the production quantities that are required for the brand all over the world. So they are busy. They tend to close down for a few weeks each year for the silent season to do some maintenance and repairs and things, but otherwise it's just 24/7 around the clock. So for me, the guys that work there have got degrees in chemical engineering and, so much experience and so much responsibility. So for me to come in as just a whiskey lover and get that opportunity was incredible. I got to go into the distillery and get hands-on and go from, the very first processes, from seeing the grain come in, milling the grain, setting up a mash, going step by step through every process, through to, releasing it from the still, going off to put into casks. So it was very special for me to get that hands-on experience. It's a busy place. I guess they have very seasonal. The off-season can be quite quiet for them in terms of visitors, but during the peak season, it is just absolutely flooded with people. People coming from all around the world to try this whiskey and to explore Skye. If it's a rainy day in Skye, as we said most of the time, it can be difficult to go hiking and mountaineering and mountain climbing. So what do? You can either sit in a pub or go to the distillery. And the distillery's got a bar in it. So, perfect. Let's go and learn about whiskey, do a tour. There's big boards that have got lots of history about the distillery and different people that have been involved throughout its history. They have a big range of Talisker there you can taste, and they have a gift shop where you can buy things you can't buy anywhere else in the world. So, it's a busy place. I'm based in London, because, you know, this is where all the bartenders are and the whiskey hub of the UK, I guess. But I try and get up to Skye as often as I can. And whenever I'm up there, I'll be exploring, you know, Skye as much as I can to meet the people and local businesses and hear about Talisker's part in that history. And then I'll also be obviously at the distillery as much as I can, sometimes doing tasting and training with the staff, or, you know, exploring the distillery, doing tours, taking photos and videos. It's a special place I try to get to as much as I can.
Yeah, it really is a very special place, both Skye and the distillery. I just keep telling people, you know, you have to go there at some point in your life. What a special place. But you talked about the clan or family of whiskeys a little earlier. Could you just quickly run us through the expressions of Talisker, please?
Yeah, certainly. So one thing I like to let people know about Talisker is there can be anywhere from around 10 to 13 different whiskies in the family at one time, depending on different releases each year and what's available. But every single one of these whiskies is made using the exact same new make spirit. So any variance in the range is all through cask management. So the way we use casks to bring out or enhance or you know, adjust flavors. So I tend to think of 10-year-old as the foundation. It's the base. It's got everything, you know. It's got, you know, that sweetness up front. It's got that red hot chili pepper spice. It's got those cereal notes. It's got some fruits. And then, of course, it's got that salty, briny, maritime bonfire beach smoke on the finish. And it's all of those numbers are all quite, you know, high on the scale. And then we've got in the range, I guess we would probably go to something like Skye next. This is a non-age statement. And I tend to think of this as Talisker 10's little brother or little sister. It's a little bit lighter. It's a little bit brighter. It still has, you know, all of those flavors. It still has smoke. It's less rich on the on the palate, the mouthfeel. But it's just a little bit lighter and easygoing. I tend to often drink this. I love it in a highball. Ice and soda or ginger ale makes it really, really refreshing sort of afternoon drink. Then we've got Talisker Storm. This is also non-age statement. This is finished in some casks which are heavily charred, and so you get a little bit more richness. For me, I like to think of it as some people think Storm is going to be big and scary and explosive. But I tend to think it's more rounded. It's like putting a fur coat on to go out into the storm. It's like the clouds are coming in, and it's rounded and rich and full flavored. It's a little bit sweeter, and I really like drinking Talisker Storm with a piece of bitter dark chocolate, really as a treat. And it's also great in an old fashioned. Then from there we go into the Talisker Portree. The pronunciation, this is a little bit tricky. This is Gaelic pronunciation of Portree, which is the capital town, the main village on the island. And this is finished in port casks. So it's I find it similar to the 10-year-old, although then it's just got these layers of rich red fruits. But then it's got this dry red wine sort of tannin finish, which is going to come from that port cask finish, which is lovely. So it's just another twist on the personality of that 10-year-old. Then you've got the Distiller's Edition. This is another one of my favorites. This is each year we do one batch. It's limited numbers. You get on here you get told when it's distilled and when it's bottled. And this is Talisker 10-year-old, but finished in Amoroso sherry casks. So Amoroso is a blend of Oloroso and PX sherry. So you get these lovely sort of fruit cake, spice, cacao, chocolate notes laid over the top of the Talisker. Lovely, lovely whiskey. These two, well, I'll carry on for one more. Then we go on to the 18-year-old. This is what I'm drinking here today. It's probably my Desert Islands Dram. It's still 45.8%, like the other Taliskers, but it is just more complex, it's a little bit sweeter, a little bit richer. There's more fruit flavors going on. There's a bit more spice. It's like turning up the volume to 11 on all of those other flavors that you get in something like the 10, but a little bit more rich and decadent. In 2007, this was voted best single malt whiskey in the world by a panel of judges, including Dave Broom at the London Whisky Show, which is an incredible accolade to take out. So, you're getting exceptional liquid with that. These three in particular, for me, are really, I say, obviously, some aren't available in certain markets, but if you can get one of these, I always recommend a bar should always have the 10 and these three, the Distillers, Portree, the 18, because they're beautiful little examples of showcasing different flavor personalities on that classic 10. From there, we've got a 25-year-old, which is sensational. In the past, we've had a 30-year-old that is not being produced currently, just struggling to keep up with numbers, basically, with popularity. We've had 57 North, which is essentially a cask strength, bottling, non-age statement. So really, really raw and really fiery. We have got we've done some special releases, like 2018 was an 8-year-old. 2019 was finished in heavily charred American oak cask, a 15-year-old. And we've done a 40, and this is our Bodega 41, which came out last year. This series is really, really special. We sourced very special particular sherry cask from one of the top sherry houses in San Luca de Barrameda in Spain. This is a Manzanilla cask finish. This is at cask strength, 50.7%. Absolutely incredible liquid. Probably one of the most incredible liquids I've tasted in my life, to be honest. There's travel retail editions as well. We've got the Dark Storm. We have had Nice Point, but I think that's having a bit of a break at the moment. As we're having a break from travel anyway, it's probably not such a bad thing. But yeah, so I lost track, but there's a lot of different releases there that all showcase the different personalities and potential of Talisker whiskey.
That really is a fabulous range. Actually, I had the 18 and the 25 for the first time at the London Whisky Show, like you mentioned. So they're absolutely fabulous. But just to close out, so I mentioned the different hats that you've donned before, but one that I didn't mention was that of an author. So you recently wrote a book called The Art and Craft of Coffee Cocktails. So we have quite a few both professional and home bartenders who watch this series. So I'd love to know, what made you write that book? Because it's fairly niche. And also any tips that you'd have for us. I'm a bit of a budding home mixologist myself, so I'd love to know. And I'm drinking some coffee as well.
Oh, good. Yeah, I'm going to go and have a coffee after this, that's for sure. So while I was living in Dubai, I decided to start writing a book. I tried a couple of topics, it wasn't quite working. And then I actually created a training platform around bars designing their own signature coffee cocktail. Now, the espresso martini's been booming, so is craft cocktails. But there's so much more you can do with coffee than just the espresso martini or the Irish coffee. So I started teaching bartenders they should, design their own, get creative with flavors and things. And I thought, well, let's put it into a book. So this is the book here. It's over 75 recipes, big hardcover. It tells you all about coffee, how to choose the right ones, pick different flavors, how to brew it, lots of tips and tricks. And then, of course, lots of different beautiful cocktails that showcase coffee in different ways, whether that's hot or, traditional style or something more weird and wonderful. Amazing project. That's now available in bookstores in 36 countries around the world. It's available from Amazon.com. And it's sort of comprehensive, gives you everything you need to know about it. I just love coffee and cocktails, obviously, so that was a great project. In terms of tips for coffee cocktails, one of my favorites at the moment is a coffee Negroni. Great with Talisker, but it also works with other great whiskies. So essentially a Boulevardier. And you can either do a little coffee infusion into the vermouth to give you a little bit of delicate coffee flavor into the vermouth, or you can infuse it into the whiskey if you like, but I tend to do more the vermouth. Or another trick is to make your cocktail, stir it, and then pour it through a V60 filter through your coffee, and it'll just do a flash infusion and take on these delicate flavors of coffee to add into a beautiful Negroni, or also old fashions, Vucarets, those sort of classic stirred style is my sort of go-to coffee cocktail style at the moment.
Lovely. So now I know what I'm going to be doing this weekend. Wonderful. So Jason, has been absolutely fabulous having you here. But guys, if you want to get in touch with Jason, I'm going to be putting his details in the description below, as well as some of the Talisker details and the link to the Talisker YouTube channel as well up here, and malts.com. And I'm going to get the links to Jason's book and put that as well in the description. But Jason, any parting words for our viewers?
Thanks to you so much for having me. I've met so many, I'm sure this is a global podcast, but I know you're based in India, and particularly while I was in Dubai, I met so many amazing, passionate Indian bartenders, and I haven't worked with them as much since I've been out here, so I know how passionate you are about bartending and about whiskey, so really great to connect. I could talk to you about Talisker for 2 hours, so if anyone wants to know anything more that I haven't been able to cover today, I'm more than happy to help. And thanks so much for taking the time to listen.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. And cheers again.
Brilliant. Cheers. Sláinte.
Sláinte. Cheers. So guys, that was an absolutely fabulous session with Jason. I hope you picked up some of those cocktail tips as well. I know I'm going to be doing some of that this weekend. So until next week, please like, subscribe, and hit the little bell so you'll know every time we have a new video in the series. Cheers.